Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am so excited to welcome Tatiana Serikova to the Wonder Woman podcast today. And I think for those of you who are in that phase of being 5 to 15 years in a country which is not your country of origin, Tatiana's interview today and today's podcast is going to be super interesting. I met Tatiana 10 years back when she was doing her MBA in Sangalit, and I had the privilege to be her mentor. And I suddenly have encountered her thanks to the amazing stuff that she writes about her immigration experience on LinkedIn and other platforms. A warm welcome to you, Tatiana. How are you today?
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting. I'm doing fantastic. We still have a little bit of sunshine here, and
Lucky you, lucky you. Tell me a little bit about your journey, and what brought you today to where you are in the Netherlands.
yeah, I'm mostly driven by curiosity. And I grew up in a very small town, and it was so-called closed town that nobody can enter or leave unless they have a permit. So you can imagine that this is a really, really small community.
Mm.
And then I went for a conference to the United States. And since then, I deliberately picked a career and I picked roles that would give me that exposure to international environment, to people who live completely different lives from mine. And I'm also right now focused on technology because this is just something that I truly enjoy.
Right. So, wow, Russia to a conference in the US to then choosing what to do to studying an MBA in one European country. Now you're a citizen of another European country. Tell me, amongst all of that journey, what does home mean to you today, Tatiana?
Oh, for me, it's very simple. Home is where my tea is. I drink a lot of tea. I take it very seriously. So
Yeah.
for me, home is that moment, that place where I can create for myself a little bit of comfort and calmness, where I
Mm.
can just ground myself. And I'm carrying a box of loose leaf tea anywhere with me. So the definition of home really became stretched.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, is that a cultural tradition from back home, or is this something that you chose for yourself?
Indeed, Russia is really a tea culture, and I'm still nowhere near coffee culture. So we
Mhm.
drink a lot of tea and we share it with family.
Mm.
And I think why it stuck it because more than like 25 years ago, better quality tea became, the first real things of joy, the first like luxury that you did for your family. It was one of these things that we finally could afford after all the economic crises that Russia been through in the 90s. So it really stuck with me as the feeling of being calm and being, in the moment and feeling safe when you get this cup of tea. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. There's always a beautiful story behind traditions, aren't there? In your new home now in the Netherlands, do you have a personal story where you felt either that you are feeling at home and a sense of belonging, or maybe also a sense of what I call being othered, right?
Yeah.
Just if you could share a personal story around this sense of belonging or lack of belonging.
I recently had a moment when I felt a little bit of both.
Mm.
And it was during my naturalization ceremony that I had around a month ago.
Mhm.
And this ceremony was not only about becoming Dutch, but also about becoming an Amsterdammer.
Okay.
And they showed a small video about the city, and it felt really raw because it was not about postcard views. It was not about proud history that Netherlands have. It was just showing people from the city, just days after festival, somebody singing on the street, somebody just being there. And it was so much in the spirit of Amsterdam because this city does not need to pretend to be perfect. It does not pretend to fit in, and then it doesn't expect this from you. So you can feel this belonging to the city and to the culture while being completely different, being who you are and bring in all the luggage and bring in all the peculiarities that you have.
That's so special, right? I wouldn't say that that goes on. And Amsterdam has this special vibe. Everybody speaks about it who's lived there. I have a dear friend who lives there, so I have visited a few times. And it is really true. I think it celebrates the diversity of people. And you're even saying that in something like a citizenship, uh, kind of official, I would say, ceremony, that's where they're also showing, be yourself and you're welcome the way you are. That is really stunning. Thanks for sharing that. Um, when we move to other countries and other cultures, we get a little bit of a view on ourselves. And I was just wondering, what was the most surprising or maybe an unexpected thing yet that you discovered about yourself now that you don't live in your home country?
I suddenly discovered that I can argue with people. So when we move countries, we encounter a lot of different people, and there is quite a bit of bureaucracy. You need to find a place to live, you need to find a job. So there are so many things,
Mm,
and not always things go smoothly.
mm,
So I had, for example, problems with my landlord who decided to do a complete renovation while I was living there. I needed to, have conversations with builders. And it was so surprising that I discovered that I actually can stand up for myself,
mm.
even though maybe I don't feel like I completely belong to this place. Although I am completely new, it still doesn't mean that I will take everything that is happening to me. So yeah, that was quite a major discovery for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is indeed, and I think these kind of discoveries, it's not the end of it, right? They they will keep happening.
Definitely.
Yeah, but that's great to discover that yes, that you can argue. There's a very interesting book written by a prolific Indian called is the Argumentative Indian, and it's fascinating to to, of course, I mean, this is somebody who has lived in his own country and written that book with a lot of exposure to of course cultures outside. And it's interesting because I mean Asian cultures, the general thinking is that they will be more compliant and they will listen, and I have never associated with that. I think I can associate far more with the argumentative Indian kind of philosophy like you can, Tatiana. So that's great that you discovered that about yourself. um I want to ask you, maybe more professionally also, have you received any kind of advice that, in hindsight, turned out either to be really good or maybe even really bad, right? But I'm more interested in know what that advice was and what have you made of it today? What did you learn from it?
Yeah, I received a really helpful advice even before moving countries.
Mm,
It was back when I was at McKinsey,
mm,
and um, the advice was don't let them frame you.
mhm,
Meaning, we meet a lot of people over our journey, and everyone we meet have this idea of who we are, and they put their own labels and understanding on us. Sometimes it's really well meaning, sometimes it can be negative, but this whole question of who you are and what you are capable of is too important to delegate to somebody. So
mm.
don't let others define it for you. And both professionally and also personally, only you know what you are capable of, and only you know what you can bring to your career, organization, or even friends and family.
That's very profound. How has that manifested in your life today? How have you lived that advice?
Um, First, I was never scared to change the path.
Mhm,
So I've been part of completely different industries. I worked in financial services, I worked in healthcare,
mhm,
and I didn't have this doubt that, okay, this is something new for me. Is there something that I can contribute? Yes, I can.
mm,
And also, it gave me strength to bring new ideas and new initiatives to my career.
Mm.
So, for example, for a long time I've been working as, consulting project manager, so somebody who takes care of clients, projects, getting things done, etc. But even though I was that, I never was trying to hide away from other job. So I also wrote reports that received quite a lot of industry appraisal.
Mm.
I was involved into sales. I was involved into learning and development initiatives, into DI initiatives.
Mm.
I had this feeling that I have something to bring.
Mm.
I and me being there gives value to everyone who is already there. So I don't have to stay in my lane because there is just no lane at all.
That is so right. And I mean, especially as women, I think we really have these multitudes within us. And society and patriarchy, try to just box us in this linear ways. And that's actually more stressful for us as compared to being the multitudes that we are, right? So thanks for sharing that. What is this? I must say I have not explored that in great detail, but you do write a lot about immigration and you have this little cartoon series. Do you want to say a little bit about that? Animation on your LinkedIn. What are you trying to do?
I'm growing my coaching practice that
Mhm.
is focusing on mental health at work,
Okay.
especially for people who are working in demanding role, where the role itself already has quite an impact on one's well-being.
Mm.
And I'm trying to make it a little bit more real. So, because there are a lot of fantastic people who do amazing job helping people to succeed and climb to that top, but I really want to be one who helps who keeps this journey safe and also with positive experiences. So, a bit like with real alpinism, reaching that summit matters only if you come back. So I'm
Mm.
trying to create this kind of noise, talking about things that are a little bit undercover, talking about being uncomfortable at work, talking about sadness, talking about defeats, and transforming this experience into something that can be valuable for somebody to pack in their tool bag and bring to their next journey.
Thank you. You have a unique voice. We will share also, and please follow Tatiana to get some interesting insights. Last question for you, Tatiana. For Wonder Women, for high skilled immigrant women who are on their journey, and as you are a little bit beyond that initial stage, but not maybe so embedded yet, you're a new citizen of the Netherlands and of Amsterdam, as you said. What is your advice for women who might be on that journey, but maybe are not yet naturalized, are still you're making in that struggle stage? What would you say to them?
I've got this advice for writing,
Mhm.
but figured out that this works for much more than that.
Mm.
So migration and reinvention often come with the strange feeling that you're not sure who you are,
Mm.
especially who you are at this point of time, because it's very fluid.
Mm.
And one way to discover that can be to really lean in into that feeling and try to be different, try different roles
Mm.
and styles, as many as you can. And then when you look back on that, there is going to be something that stayed untouched through all this experience. And this is you.
Mm. Love that. Love that. Yes, have heard that as writing advice. Lean in the discomfort, lean into that, and what comes out of it is unique to you, and it's your unique voice. Thank you so much, Tatiana. This has been amazing, and I am looking forward to meeting up with you in my next trip to Amsterdam.
Would love to, definitely.
Take care. Have a good day. Bye for now.
Have a lovely day.